Hey guys, it's Whitney here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a speed build for you guys. Today's speed build is actually going to be a base game family home. Usually when I'm doing builds, I don't really think or pay attention to the packs that the items that I use come from, and I feel like because of that I have a tendency to use way too many packs in my builds. And I also feel like doing a base game build is a good way to know what's actually in the game. I think using like any type of limited pack build is like just a good way to know what's in the builds, because like I mentioned, I don't really pay attention, and sometimes when I'm watching other people do speed builds, I'm like, how do they know? It's almost like they intuitively know what item comes with which pack. And I know that the items have like the little icons on it and you can see, but for me, like, I don't really pay attention to that. So I feel like in the future I do want to do like more limited pack builds and kind of get better knowledge on what items come exactly from which pack. Unlike the last base game build that I didn't give myself a specific budget. I just allowed myself to use whatever I wanted with this build, and I feel like by the time I finished this build, I feel like this house was actually ridiculously like expensive for its size. I think by the time I got the house fully furnished, I think it came up to be like 60,000 simoleons, which I don't know. I think like for its size, it's kind of like outrageous for like how much this build costs. But there is 3 bedrooms and there's 2 bathrooms, and I think like in Willow Creek's, if, like the houses that I'm thinking of, like most of the houses that come with at least 3 bedrooms and more than 1 bathroom, I think they're around like maybe 30,000 or 50,000 simoleons. I'm not for sure, but I don't know. I feel like because I just only use base game, I feel like that's another reason why things came up to be so expensive. I have no idea why the items in base game are like so expensive. The only reason I can think that they're expensive is if like it kind of gives like people who only have base game or those who are just starting out with the Sims like a challenge, because they actually have to get their Sims to work hard in order to fully furnish their house. That's like the only thing I can think of why the base game items are so expensive. If you kind of like look at like the newer packs, the items that come with like the newer packs and stuff, they're actually way less expensive than the items that come with base game, which is kind of weird because you would kind of like assume that they would make the items that come with newer packs more expensive, because for example, the base game came out like 10 years ago and like the newer packs came out recently, and a lot of the newer furniture is like more modern. I feel like the items from base game, they're very outdated, and I don't think that they really thought about how the items would age. I don't even think they're thinking about it with like the modern, like the most recent packs that come out. I feel like they kind of like making furniture that's trendy right now, but I feel like it's kind of like the Sims 3 as well. Like I don't know, maybe the like when we were playing the Sims 3, if you played the Sims 3 when it first came out, like a lot of the items, I guess they were like what was in fashion at that time, but like it's very outdated now. And I feel like maybe in the future, like when we look back at the Sims 4 and the expansion packs and all the other packs that came out with the Sims 4, we might think the same thing. Especially I think of like high school years and like the things that came out with like the furniture that came out with high school years. Like it's really trendy and people really like it now, but like I feel like in the future we might like kind of look at it and like cringe or not really want to use those items because they don't really fit whatever the new trending aesthetic is in the future. I also think that doing a base game only build has only gotten easier as the time has gone by, because I feel like if I tried to do a base game build when the game first came out, like they have added so many new items over the years, like the 10 years that the game has been out, to base game, and I feel like those new items that came out really helped out a lot. I also kind of wish that there was some type of thing like in the description that said like what year the item came out, because I think it would be really cool to see like when exactly these things came out. I think I even used like, I think it might have just been like one thing in this build. I used like one of the pillows that came with like I think it was like a part of that like little deal, like the little prize thing that they had when you like signed into the game and you would like get a free item or something. And I think I used like a pillow, and I think I used like a new trash can that came with that little thing in a different build that I've done recently. But I feel like without these updates or these items that's been added to the base game over the years, I don't I mean, I think I could do a base game build still, but I feel like these updates have made it a lot easier now to do base game build. Going into this build, I knew that I wasn't going to stick to a budget, but I was going to stick to only base game. At first, I thought I was going to like follow an actual like floor plan that I found online, but it kind of wasn't working out for me. Following floor plans can kind of be a little bit tricky in the game because not like you can't really scale things exactly how the floor plan is, so you end up like freestyling it anyway. I then like switched my plan and I actually planned on doing like a double wide trailer type of situation because I feel like in this like little area, oh by the way, I am doing this build in Willow Creek. For some reason I've kind of been sticking to Willow Creek, and I do plan on kind of venturing out to different towns and like renovating the houses and like doing different types styles of builds in like different towns. But I've been in Willow Creek, and in this little area I kind of like to kind of have like not lower income housing, but like housing that's like available for Sims that are just starting out. And like I mentioned, this house probably isn't it because it is pretty expensive. I don't think your Sims are going to be able to afford this house like just starting out, because they really only start off with 20,000 simoleons, and I'm not really sure how much they start off with if they do have 2 children or something like that, because 2 of the rooms I was able to turn into children's rooms. One of the rooms is actually a nursery, and then the other room is for like an older child, and we'll get to that later. But I kind of struggled a little bit with the exterior, and I feel like that's what's going to take up like a lot of the video so far. I feel like by the time I got into the interior of the house, like I kind of like knew what I was doing. You probably noticed that I kind of put like some white counters and some white chairs down because I was just trying to figure out how I was going to lay out the floor plan of this house, and sometimes I'll just like put random furniture down to get a feel for like where I'm going to put everything. Like I mentioned, because like my first 2 plans didn't kind of go through, I think I ended up bulldozing this house like twice until I like got like a type of a house that I liked. And another thing that gave me trouble was like the roof, because I didn't really like the way the roof was looking. But by the end I kind of got something that I really liked. And I don't know, I just feel like it's not very fancy. Like I will say that like the house isn't very fancy, and that's I guess because I was limited to doing just base game. So this is a very basic house, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you have to do like super elaborate houses all the time. I think like sometimes that's pretty much like sometimes that's all I really want. Like sometimes I'm playing with like a regular family, and all I want for them is to have like just a normal looking house, like a basic house, and they just live out their basic lives. When I'm doing builds, I do try to think about like how I would play with the build, or how I can like suggest other people to play with this build if they want to. And I think the way that I would do it is if I have my Sims and they were like looking for a house to live in, and I kind of like see like when I was doing this build, I kind of see like there's already a family living here, but they plan on moving out. Like I feel like they are trying to grow and expand their family, and this house just isn't big enough for them anymore. I honestly feel like as we get into the rooms, I'll kind of like talk about it later, but I feel like there could be like you could like change the rooms however you want it to, especially if you do plan on playing with different packs. I feel like this house is just like, because like sometimes when I'm playing my game, I don't know if I'm the only one who does this, but I like to have my Sims like go to different houses. Like in their story they're like looking for a house to live, and like I'll get them to go and visit different houses and like pretend they're doing like a house tour or something like that. And sometimes when I go on like actual house like places online to like people that sell houses, like I think like one is Zillow, and we can look at the pictures on there, like sometimes you can tell that like the realtor, they kind of like staged the house and made it look kind of presentable for the picture in a way that will hopefully get the house to sell. And then sometimes you can tell that like maybe it's being sold by the owner and they haven't like fully moved out yet, so they like just cleaned up, but like it's their furniture, it's like their style. And like you can just like see how they had the house furnished. And that's kind of like another thing that I was kind of like thinking of with this build, is that the family hasn't necessarily moved out, but they are in the process of moving out. And so like I would get my Sims to come here and take a look around and maybe see how they would change things if they were to move in. I also think another thing you could try to do is to, if you have the for rent pack, you can set like the build as a rental, just like make all the rooms as like one rental unit. And I think it will bring the price of this lot down to like 40 something thousand, or you can just use the free real estate cheat so that you can like move in and pretend that your sim just moved into an apartment that's like fully furnished already. And I think like the daily rent will be like 190 simoleons or something like that, and that's like super expensive, like it adds up. But I don't know, I feel like that's pretty realistic, like with the price, like the cost of housing in today's time in real life. Now we're moving on to the interior of the house, and I realized like the wallpaper that I use in this build, I think it's like one of my go-to wallpapers, even when I'm doing a build that's not like limited packs or it's not just base game only. I feel like I have a tendency to like always use these wallpapers because they just come with like a lot of different colors, and you can use them for different type of rooms. Like you could do like use the same wallpaper but like make it a different color for like the kids room, and then have it a different color for like the hallway or something like that, or the living room. I also think it's just a good wallpaper that like fits pretty much any build that you do, especially if you're doing a house, because it just has like a baseboard, and I just like to use it in multiple different rooms to like show that like it's like, I don't know, I feel like it wouldn't make any sense to use a different wallpaper in a different room because there's like a baseboard in this room but not in that room. Like of course you can see in the kitchen you have like a little accent wall, and I think I did have an accent wall in the dining room area as well. But I don't know, I just like having like a certain amount of cohesiveness to my builds, I think. And the counters that I use, I feel like they are my like go-to counters as well. Even if I'm not really doing a base game build, I find that I use these counters all the time because again, they just come with a lot of different swatches, and depending on the swatches that you use, you can kind of like make the space look really nice, or you can like make it look like more not so nice. I feel like with these black counters, with the base game counters, I feel like they're really nice still. And for this to be like a family home, I didn't want to use like white counters or like a light colored counter because I don't know, I feel like that's not very realistic for people who have like multiple children, because I feel like it would get like really dirty really fast, or you would have to like constantly clean it. And I know there are some families that do have like white counters or like light colored counters, and they, you know, just clean it. But I don't know, I feel like with this family home, I wanted it to, I don't know, like I just wanted to, I don't know, I feel like this, I wouldn't say like this is a modern build, but it's like modern-ish. And I feel like that was kind of something that was like a little bit of a struggle with base game, because I feel like base game, like the base game items, they have like really weird choices. Like I don't know, I feel like it's very not even like outdated for like the amount of time that The Sims has come out, but like a lot of the furniture doesn't make sense. Like I feel like especially like some of the couches that came with base game, they're like more, I don't know what you'll call it, like Victorian or like very old style. Like I feel like you could use it for a castle, but it doesn't make sense for it to be in a base game. I don't really know what EA was thinking about when they decided to use those couches. And with the dining room chairs, I feel like I chose like the most expensive dining room chairs. I think they were like $500 or 500 simoleons a piece. And I think I like just, I would, like I said, I didn't give myself a budget. So I was like, with this build, I'm just going to allow myself to use whatever I want. And I'm not going to think about like the pricing. Of course, like if you want to play with this build and you do want to knock the pricing down, I feel like just using like regular basic chairs instead of these chairs would definitely help you out a lot. But I feel like I wanted to use these because I felt like they match like the vibe of this house. And I haven't really noticed those chairs before. Like I've never really used them. One, because they're probably ridiculously like expensive, and there's like other chairs that are kind of similar to that vibe, but they're like less expensive because like I mentioned before, like the items that come with like later packs, they're way less expensive than the ones that came with base game. And so they're just chairs that I'd never really used before, but I actually quite kind of like them. They're just super expensive. Another thing that I've never really noticed before that was base game was this little well, it's not an end table, but it's like this little table that I used in like the entryway area. I don't know if that was like from a update or if it actually came with base game, because like I mentioned, I wish there was a way to like kind of know when exactly items came out or when things were added to the base game. I do know that the paintings that I added to the dining room's accent wall, I do know that they were included in a base game update. I just don't know exactly when. But I actually like these paintings a lot, and I think I used them another time in the bedroom. And I don't know, I feel like I wish we had like more base game paintings like that. Like maybe if they added more, because the paintings in base game are super expensive. Like they just jump up so much in price, and that's kind of like what makes it a little bit difficult for me, because if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you guys would know that I really love clutter, and I like to make especially my homes look like they are lived in as much as possible. And I even had to use like the little light switches to make it look more lived in. We did get light switches with one of the bathroom, I think it was either the bathroom clutter kit or the everyday clutter kit. And again, if you've watched any of my past videos, you know that those are like my favorite kits because I love clutter so much. But I was able to use like a lighting switch, not because I wanted my house to look realistic and have a light switch, but because I just needed to put something on the walls. And I feel like we're coming up to my first example of you can change this build if you want to. And I feel like if I was to play with this build, I feel like this would be like the perfect room to put a washing machine and dryer if you have the laundry pack installed. And so I kind of made it into like a makeshift laundry room. I wanted to have this room because I feel like I also thought about turning it into a pantry or some type of closet, even though they're not really functional in game. I just like to have it because I think it's something that's pretty realistic that most people have in their houses, and it just kind of like fills up space. But I feel like you actually use a space if you had laundry day and you added a washer and dryer. And I think I think I was gonna like put a sink in this corner beside the counter. I don't know, I think I just put like a plant. That's what I ended up putting in there. But if you have laundry day, you can add the washer and dryer right there, and it's like the perfect room for a laundry room. And like I mentioned, there are 3 bedrooms, so there's a nursery, and then there's a room for what I kind of imagine to be not they're technically a child. And I do wish we had like more life stages in the game, because I imagine them to be like an older child. Maybe they're moving into like their teenage years. But I feel like the nursery is a pretty small room, and I think it could easily be changed into a office if you wanted to. And I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I feel like, again, like another way that I would play with this build is I probably would just like, have my Sims come here, tour the house, look at how it's furnished right now. But I could honestly see my Sims like just, getting the person that they're buying the house from to take their furniture out. So I would probably take away like all the decoration, all the furniture, except for the fireplace I would leave, of course, and the everything that comes in the kitchen, like the counters, the sink, the stove, and also everything that comes with the bathrooms, except remove the decorations, but like leave everything else in the bathroom. And then this house could be like the perfect move and ready house. And I don't think, like, if you did it that way, I don't think it would be very expensive, and it should be affordable for a starter family. You would have to like eventually like have your Sims like save up enough money to fully furnish it the way that they want. But if you have different packs, especially more recent packs, it shouldn't be hard to furnish, because like I mentioned, the items that come with newer packs, they are more affordable. And I think I used like this little stool thing, like this little table, multiple times. I think that's also come out recently with like updates. And also I realized that like when I'm using like just limited packs, or like this is just a base game packs, I find myself like using lamps a lot more. I don't usually typically use a whole lot of lamps, but I feel like with doing something like this, which is a base game house build, I just try to like do my best to fill in the empty space as much as I can. And so I do utilize lamps a lot more, I find, when I'm doing like a base game build. But I do kind of wish that I'd use lamps a lot more. I just find that they don't really give the best lighting, so maybe that's why I typically don't use them. I feel like this house is kind of on the small side and it's a little bit cramped, and I feel like maybe this is a family that maybe just had like I mentioned, they have a child, but they're like an older child, almost a teen, and they also just recently had a baby. For some reason I added a high chair in the dining room. I think I just use it as like a decorative piece because in my mind, like, this is a family that just had a baby. Maybe they're currently an infant right now and maybe they're about to turn into a toddler, but I thought like the high chair, it just matched the aesthetic of the dining room, so I just put it there. They don't really need it right now, but I feel like that's kind of why this family is moving out of this house, because they don't really have enough room for their growing family. Like their oldest child is like older, so yeah, they probably don't need as much toys, but they're about to have like another toddler that needs room and needs more backyard space and everything. So I feel like this family, I also kind of like imagine that this is a family like where the both parents work from home. Like one of the parents is an artist and the other parent is a freelancer programmer or something. And like I mentioned, you can change one of the rooms into an office if you want. So I kind of imagine like the smaller room that's now the nursery. Maybe at one time it was an office and they had to move the office out into the living room. So now they need to like kind of expand and get a bigger house so that they can all have the room that they need. And this is probably random, but there was like this painting that I used on top of the fireplace. It was like a pear one, and I think I even used it on the shelf that's on the dining room. But I don't know. I think that's why doing these base game builds are kind of cool, because it kind of makes you think like, oh, this is a really cool item that I don't really use that much, but I kind of wish we had more of. Like, I don't really like the painting itself. I think it's really dumb. Like, I really hate the base game paintings so much. They're either super expensive or they're super dumb. I think the only decent base game paintings are the one that I put in the dining room and also the one with like the little flower leaf things. That one's okay. But the rest of them are super dumb, because it's like, what am I gonna do with the painting with the stupid pear on it and an apple? Like, I don't know, it's just like really annoying. But I like the idea of like having little pictures or like different like clutter items that's like a picture frame, but not one that you hang up on the wall, but one you can like set on a shelf or something like that. And I wish we had more, like something more like that. But anyway, with the child's room, I was really inspired to use this rug, and I think it was a rug that was added to base game recently. I actually think I know when this rug came out in the update, and I think it came when they updated the infants and they gave us some items, some free base game items to add on with the infant stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really realize how like kind of cheated I felt when I realized like how little infant stuff we got with the base game update. I thought there was more. I thought we at least had like a changing table that came with the base game update that came out when we got growing together, but apparently we didn't. And I honestly feel like there should have been a base game changing table and a base game playmat. Like, of course they have like the little cute one with the animals, but I feel like I don't understand why there couldn't have been like a base game update that kind of went with like the base game toddler bid, like, and also like the little toy chests that kind of come with like the blocks and like the dinosaur and stuff like that. I don't know why we couldn't have had one that came with base game, but I was inspired by this rug that came with the update, and I really like the space theme, so I kind of tried to go with that theme with the bedroom and like imagine that the older child, they are really into space and science. And I did want to include the little science thingy in the bedroom, but there really isn't enough space for that, and I feel like that's kind of realistic, like in most people's living situation. In a lot of houses, like, you really only have room, or the rooms are only kind of big enough for a bed, and there's not really a whole lot of designated play space. And I feel like that's kind of why this family is moving out. And with the nursery, I originally intended on like making like a super girly bedroom, but I couldn't really find furniture that kind of fit that, and so I kind of went with like a more gender neutral bedroom, because I could even imagine like maybe this family hasn't even had the baby yet, and maybe they're like the type of family that doesn't want to know what the child is, so they just like set up the nursery and they don't really know when exactly they're going to find the perfect house for them, so they're just like set it up, and they do actually plan on moving out as soon as they find a different house, but they did want to go ahead and set the nursery up. And like I mentioned, I do kind of feel a little bit cheated with the lack of infant friendly items, but there is some like kind of cool clutter that came with the base game update with the when before the growing together pack came out. I really like this little bookcase. It's like super cute, and also this little rug. I guess that's where they put the infants down because they don't really have anywhere else to put them. And also I really like the diapers and stuff like that, and I kind of wish that they fit onto the shelves a little bit better. And I honestly didn't really know where to put all the diapers at. I probably could have put them in the bathroom, but I don't know. I feel like this little thing that I put on the little table was good enough. I think one thing that I meant to mention before is that I think I actually had to like redo the interior. I didn't get like super far, but I had like the kitchen and the dining room pretty much finished, but I actually ended up having to redo it because I have a tendency to like I just leave my game running all the time, like I never turn it off, and I have a tendency to like work on a build, but like again, like I'll forget to save it. Like I am so forgetful. Like I'm really bad at saving, and I have gotten better at it, but I think what had happened was I did what I usually do in like the previous day. I had been working on the build, and I didn't like save the game, and I just left my game running. I think that's why like I think I don't have to like save my game, because it's like I'm not turning my game off anyway, so I don't have to save it. But I think what had happened was that there was a storm, and my son, being a good son, he turned off my computer. He unplugged it for me so like it wouldn't like I don't know, like like it wouldn't blow up my computer or whatever. So yeah, I lost my progress, but I feel like it was a good thing because also at the beginning of me trying to decorate this build, I was getting really frustrated because I didn't turn off my CC, and I was feeling super tempted to use CC in this build. And I think in the future, I really do want to do a CC like full build, but I think I've kind of been reluctant on doing so because I don't know, I feel like, well, for one, if I was to upload that build onto the gallery, you wouldn't be it would be kind of harder to find. Like it's more obstacles because you have to include custom content in order to download the build. And then there's also the thing like of you having to kind of have the same CC that I have in order to get like that build. And I have been uploading some of my builds on CurseForge lately. I will put my gallery ID down below in the description. I'll also link my CurseForge profile on in the description down below as well. And I think I could like do a build with CC and upload it onto CurseForge for you guys to download, but I don't really know how I feel exactly about that because it's not my creation. Like I didn't make the CC, I just like put the CC into a build. So I don't know, let me know in the comments down below if you'd be interested in me doing a build with the CC that I have. Like I could do my best to give you guys insight on where I get the CC from, but to be completely honest, I do get a lot of my CC from CurseForge. I just be downloading stuff. Like it's so easy to download things off of CurseForge. You just click one button, it's in your game instantly. But I do go to like different creators on like I go to their Patreons, or I'd use Pinterest to find different CC creators, and like I'll just go on binges like for hours straight. Like I'll intend on playing the game, but like I'll just spend like 2 hours just downloading CC into my game. So I just have so much, and like I mentioned, like I just use items that I like. If it fits the vibe or fits the aesthetic that I'm going for, then I use it. Then I don't really pay attention to where it comes from, like with the packs. And I know I'm probably going to be the same with the CC. So I don't know. Let me know if you'd be okay with me doing a build with CC, but I don't necessarily upload it to the gallery or CurseForge. I guess another thing that I could do is, because I've done this in the past where I've done a CC build, but then I will upload that version of it onto the gallery, but then I also kind of like do another version of it where it doesn't include that CC. But I don't know. I want to use CC so bad, but I don't know. Another thing that I kind of want to do is I want to get back into doing more Let's Plays. I've kind of been sticking to speed builds for the time recently because for some reason YouTube and their algorithm, they kind of hate it when I do Let's Plays. And I've just kind of been sticking to speed builds because they're a little bit easier for me. Like I've been trying to be very consistent and upload at least once a week, and so far that's kind of been working for me. And I know like it'll probably be a little bit more of a burden for me to try to do 2 videos a week, but I really want to get back into doing Let's Plays. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you've probably been wondering like when I was going to do CC. I feel like a lot of my subscribers that I have recently, they have subscribed from like speed build videos because those are like the only videos that YouTube pushes out for some reason. But I kind of decided that like with my channel, like I kind of want to just do what I want to do for the fun of it. And I don't really have a whole lot of time to play the game like on my own. And so I feel like I would have time to play the game but like record it and make it as a let's play. And I really actually want to finish a series because I started let's play series on this channel and I never like finished them because I don't know, I just felt like really discouraged because YouTube, I don't know, they don't like those videos for some reason and they don't want to push them out for some reason, but they do push out my speed build. So I kind of did like an experiment and only did speed builds for the past few weeks, but I want to get back into doing more let's plays, and I do have an idea that I think will be kind of fun, and I hope you will stick around to watch that as well as watching my speed builds. But if things go the way that I plan, then I will be starting to upload 2 times a week instead of one. I think I've been doing really good with like staying consistent with uploading one. So I do kind of want to challenge myself and see if I can do 2 videos a week. So I'll be doing a speed build video and then a let's play video. Probably not next week, but maybe the week after next. And at the time of me recording this voiceover, the Sims, they just released the gameplay trailer for the newest expansion pack, which is, I think it's called Love Struck, and it seems kind of exciting, but I don't know if I'm going to buy it as soon as it comes out. So I don't know if I'm going to be making any videos or content about it. I think I'm going to wait and see like how it is and if there's any glitches or if it's like worth buying for me personally. I think it's a cool concept, but recently like the Sims and the Sims 4, they haven't really been doing well when it comes to pulling off really good concepts. They've like been really good at selling us ideas, but they're not really good at like following through with their ideas. But I think we're kind of like approaching the end of the speed build. I just finished up the master bathroom. I wanted to include a bathtub in here because the other bathroom, it was kind of small and I could only fit a shower, and I don't think I play tested it. I think everything should be able to function in that small bathroom, but I wanted to add like a tub in the master bathroom so that you could like bathe your toddlers or infants in that bathroom. And for the backyard, I actually plan on including a swing in the backyard, but apparently there aren't any base game swings. There's only a jungle gym. And I don't know, I just felt like it wasn't enough space to have in the backyard for that, but I think I actually ended up using a telescope, and I think it fit well with the vibe of like the child that's like, I don't know, I feel like they're like not necessarily a child, but like in my mind they're an older child and they're very much so into like space and everything. So I thought it would just be like more appropriate to just include the telescope and they can have fun with that. And I just used like a few base game staples like the planter boxes because I feel like in a lot of base game houses, like you'll see like a lot of the planters for some reason. And I actually ended up like, I don't know, I kind of like the blue like exterior of the house, but I actually ended up like completely changing the exterior and using white siding instead of the blue. And for some reason I kind of liked it a little bit more. There wasn't anything wrong with the blue, but I don't know, I feel like that's what happens when you start a build but then you don't like finish it. Like you'll start something and like, because I do it all the time, like I'll start a build but then I'll start 3 other builds, and then by the time I come to this build it's like maybe a week later, and so I just decide to like change a bunch of different stuff to the build, and that's kind of like what happened with this build. But I don't know, I feel like with it being white, it's like like, I don't know, it's like it gives the impression that this is a very peaceful home setting. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with how this build turned out, and I hope you enjoyed this build as well. By the time I upload this video to YouTube, it should be uploaded onto the gallery. I know I'm really bad at that, but it should be. I'm gonna do it as soon as I finish this speed build. But I appreciate you so much for watching and being here with me today, and I hope to see you in a future video.